What is happening with lumber and wood? Prices are going through the roof. What is going on? Supply chain? Workers? How long is this going to last? Let's talk about it on this episode of the Renovation Rundown. My name is Sean Thompson. I'm one of the nation's leading experts on home loans with built-in renovation financing. And this is the Renovation Rundown. So lumber prices are going through the roof. Man, this is crazy what we're seeing. So it's unprecedented prices for benchmark 2x4 Western spruce, actually softwood or soft lumber as they call it, measured by 1,000 board feet. 1,000 board feet is the way they measure that. Here, take a look at this chart here. All right. This chart was, if you look back in May 1st of 2020, it was $316.29, which today, looking at this chart, it is $1,601. That is a huge spike. So what's causing the problem? Well, a couple things. Home buying and home building and the rush to catch up with demand on the 4 million homes in the hole. Remember my last show? That's part of it, but the supply chain seems to be breaking a little bit, or was broken back when things needed to be shut down. Okay, so this was a little while ago, and I'm going to show you a chart on that. That's pretty crazy too. Yet, during the sort of height of the stay-at-home sort of COVID thing, people were still doing projects. There was a lot of do-it-yourself projects going on, even though there was a shutdown in the supply chain, right? So think about that. Demand kept up, yet the supply chain was completely broken for wood and lumber. And I'm going to break out how we get it and where the break in the supply chain is. And there might be some culprits here. This may not be as big of a supply chain issue as much as it is. I'm not going to bury the lead as much as it is gouging, right? So there's low mill output. I kind of studied how many mills we have in the United States versus the ones that are actually doing the business. You'll be surprised to learn about that. Low workforce participation. Now, we're seeing this across industries, right? Not just in the lumber industry, but it's kind of hard to get workers back in the saddle, when I don't want to be one of these people parroting the same thing over and over again, but when they're being paid to stay home, right? So there's low workforce participation in trucking, sawmills, and the actual logging of the trees, which, by the way, there is no backlog of the logging of the trees. So the logging and shipping to the mills, that's still okay. All right, so where's the breakdown? We're going to go through that a little bit too. Some stock speculation is fueling the continued rise in prices too. There is a speculation that the prices of lumber will continue to rise. All right, and that's actually helping it continue to rise if you know how that works. So how does this relate to your renovation project and what's going on, with the projects that you're doing? I really want to show you kind of what's happening here and what you can do to sort of freeze wood prices, if you can do anything at all, in moving on getting that rental project done. So take a look at the next slide here. This is North American capacity utilization. We do get a lot of our wood from Canada. If you look at the red line here, Canada in May, April-May of 2020, was down to 55%, capacity. They generally run at 95%. All right, so think about all the wood that didn't make it to the supply chain, because of that stoppage. And the same thing sort of happened, maybe not, as bad of a to as bad of a degree in December of 2020, and that was quite recently, right? So, also U.S. not operating, their mills not operating at peak supply, also. But Canada running at 95% and then not returning to that yet, that's a major problem, right? So although the production low, the log supply is still pretty good, and the mills have all the raw materials they need, but and as I mentioned before, there's no backlog, of from forestry, to the mill itself. So take a look at this, though. I mean, I just want you to see how the U.S. lumber supply chain works, right? There's the forestry of it. There's the cutting down of the trees and turning them into logs and bringing the logs and shipping the logs to the sawmills, right? And then there's the actual sawmills, and there's an interesting story there on that. And then there's shipping and trucking so that the wood ultimately makes it to the retailer. Let's say Lowe's or Home Depot or your lumber yard, right? So what I'm finding out is the lumber yards and the shipping and trucking industries and the forestry industries, they're not really benefiting from the high cost. Who is, though? Who is? So you'll see kind of where this goes, right? So the U.S. sawmill and wood production industry is about just shy of 3,000 mills in the U.S., 81,000 employees, right? Not a huge business, but 3,000 mills in the U.S., 5 of them have most of the market share. You follow me? You picking up what I'm putting down here, right? So 5 of them have all the market share in this. So if 5 have all the market share, let's look at the 3 that are public and report earnings, right? So here's our top 3. Weyerhaeuser, right, up 147% from last year. All right, West Fraser, stock up 279 from last year, and Interfor, right, 459%. Now, why am I bringing up how much their stock has risen? Because there's no significant increase in COVID-related expenses reported in those rises. You get what's going on here? They're getting those prices because they can. They're just asking for them, right? And they're getting them because they can. Who's going to stop them, right? So this is, in what appears to me to look like, just good old-fashioned gouging, right? So a couple of takeaways. Here's what I'll take from this. Prices will stabilize as competition ramps up, right? So we do have 3,000 mills, although those mills, most of them, don't compete with our top big 5, but they will start to, and our retailers will start to call from lumber from mills that that force them to compete, that allow them to compete, with price. So prices will come down. I don't know how long it's going to take. No one really knows. We might see a peak in lumber prices, next month. It could get to 2,000. But to the degree that these other sawmills get up and running will dictate how fast those prices start to come back down. We may see government intervention in the short term, right? And governments may step in and go, whoa, look what's going on. We do have a housing crisis, right? And exacerbating the housing crisis by making wood 280% more expensive than it was last year for no reason at all doesn't seem to make sense to me. And I'm hoping it doesn't make sense to our government either, right? So how do you offset the risk, in slated projects and price adjustments in the meantime? So I think the trick here is ordering wood as soon as possible and getting your contractor or your home improvement professional to really lock in by way of payment, a price of lumber-related projects or projects that are lumber and wood intensive. You're doing an attic level and you want to take the roof off your house and you have to reframe upstairs. Well, that's a lot of wood, right? So you want to lock in that price. I'll also say where wood is being used in certain interior situations, you want to reframe a bathroom, you might want to use steel or aluminum, right? You might want to use other means of framing, and aluminum or metal framing, as you will, all right, has been growing in popularity. This might speed that up, right? So I think here's the thing here. Just like a lot of the supply chains, there's a shortage in cars, all right, and this is all relative to what happened last year in shutting the country down, and we're just starting to see the downstream effects of that. It will come back. All right, sawmills will start to compete and the gouging will come down. I'm hoping our government has a little intervention on that, the same way we do with price gouging and gas prices, right? I'm hoping that happens soon, but hey, stick with me. Come here. You want to find out what's going on? I'll let you know. All right, so hang in there. I think we got a little bit to kind of wade through here with the lumber prices, but get your prices fixed as soon as possible, and you might want to look for some alternatives, all right, for wood if you really don't need a whole lot of wood to get your project done. All right, I'm Sean Thompson. Thanks for checking in on the Renovation Rundown.